At the Imola Grand Prix, the FIA introduced a fresh technical directive that may have had a far bigger impact on McLaren than anyone initially predicted. While Max Verstappen led the race comfortably in clean air, McLaren's MCL 39 seemed a shadow of its former self. This was a car that, just a few races ago, could easily pull away from the field, sometimes finishing half a minute ahead of third place. But that dominance suddenly vanished, and it might not be a coincidence. So, what exactly did the FIA do that could have affected McLaren's performance this dramatically? More importantly, is this just the beginning of a broader regulatory clampdown, possibly targeting Barcelona next? After the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, a hot topic of discussion was how far off the pace McLaren looked. Oscar Piastri, for instance, was nearly caught by Lewis Hamilton late in the race. Had Alex Albon overtaken Charles Leclerc, Piastri might have dropped to fourth, a position unthinkable for the McLaren of recent races. While some may chalk this up to tire age, especially since Piastri was on a longer stint, there's growing speculation that the performance drop is tied to the FIA's new directive. Let's break it down. Ahead of Imola, the FIA released two technical directives. The first focused on how teams were manipulating skid block materials, specifically exploiting loopholes to pass legality checks on plankwear. This is critical because riding too low can give performance gains, especially in downforce. And notably, Piastri's car was inspected after Miami, possibly hinting that McLaren's previous setups were being closely scrutinized. The second part of the directive clarified which materials could be used for skids and how they had to be mounted. The goal? Prevent teams from engineering around the rules to run their cars lower to the ground while still clearing the minimum plankwear checks. On a rough track like Imola, any car previously running low would now have to be raised, which affects both drag and downforce. But this wasn't the only issue. The FIA also addressed a different area of concern: communication between teams and the governing body, specifically about devices related to tire and wheel cooling. While the rules themselves didn't change, the FIA made it clear that concepts like water cooling inside tires, or more exotic ideas like phase change materials, PCMs, would not be permitted. This was seen as a direct response to Red Bull's concerns about how McLaren was maintaining optimal tire temperatures in conditions where other teams struggled. Christian Horner, Red Bull's team principal, hinted that it wasn't mere coincidence that McLaren suddenly lost their edge at the very same race where these rules came into effect, especially after Red Bull themselves showed signs of recovery with successful upgrades in Imola. Piastri may have overtaken Verstappen on track earlier this season, but at Imola he couldn't get close, even while Verstappen navigated traffic and turbulent air. In previous races, McLaren seemed immune to those disadvantages. Now it seems the FIA's intervention may have brought them back in line with the rest of the grid. Christian Horner made it clear after the Imola Grand Prix that Verstappen's superior tire management played a key role in Red Bull's victory over McLaren. According to Horner, Verstappen was not only able to maintain performance, but also control tire temperatures far better than the MCL 39. He explained that once the Red Bull car stopped sliding, they entered a much better performance window, allowing them to extract consistent pace while keeping the tires under control. The first stint was particularly promising, he noted. Max was driving intelligently, managing his tires well, and still increasing the gap to those behind him. Horner also pointed out that while McLaren had shown impressive long-run pace on Friday, Red Bull's race day performance was a standout, something they hadn't seen since Brazil last year, which was run in wet conditions. He saw it as a sign that Red Bull was finally back in a position to outpace McLaren on pure performance. Despite this, McLaren firmly denies that the FIA's new technical directive had any bearing on their recent dip in form. Team insiders insist that their car remained legal and that no changes were required to comply with the updated skid block rules. From their perspective, the directive was likely aimed at other teams, not at them. Regarding tire cooling, an area that has sparked much speculation, the FIA had already closely examined McLaren's wheel and brake assembly multiple times this season, including a detailed inspection following the Miami Grand Prix. While no illegality was found, the fact that the FIA felt the need to clarify rules again suggests that they may be preemptively closing loopholes, possibly limiting any further gray area innovations from McLaren. Team principal Andrea Stella addressed the ongoing suspicions surrounding McLaren. from rumors about flexi wings to supposed water-filled tires and mini DRS mechanisms. Speaking in Imola, he brushed aside the allegations and claimed that such attention from rivals only motivates the team further. "It's actually good news for us," Stella said. "When our competitors spend more time trying to decipher imaginary tricks on our car, rather than focusing on their own performance, it plays in our favor." He added that even if McLaren were running flexing front wings, a trait that nearly every team exhibits within legal limits, it wouldn't explain their competitive advantage. Stella emphasized that McLaren's strength lies in tire preservation and strategic execution, not in questionable aerodynamic components. Whether or not the technical directive introduced at Imola had a meaningful impact on McLaren's pace remains to be seen. However, it's clear that scrutiny from rivals won't be letting up anytime soon. The next major focus is Barcelona, where many in the paddock believe the FIA will further tighten interpretations, particularly around front wing flexibility. There's a growing belief among teams that McLaren is using extra flex at the front to gain time in low-speed corners. Though many argue their performance advantage is more due to their tire efficiency than aero trickery, the upcoming race could mark a significant turning point. Fred Vasseur, Ferrari's team boss, hinted that the Spanish Grand Prix might act as a performance reset for the grid. "Everyone will have a new front wing in Barcelona," he said. "By regulation, that's going to happen. And it might just level the playing field again." Overall, things aren't looking particularly bright for McLaren. Yes, they currently have one of the fastest cars on the grid, but races like Imola serve as a sharp reminder. You can never count Red Bull out, especially not Max Verstappen. Unlike the 2021 season, Verstappen is now up against two serious title contenders in Norris and Piastri. Teammates who, while fighting for the championship themselves, will inevitably take points off each other whenever they have the chance, and when that happens behind a leading Verstappen, it only strengthens his position out front. Let's also not forget just how content Verstappen was with the car in Imola. It's been a while since we've seen him that confident and upbeat. The upgrades Red Bull brought seemed to do exactly what they were meant to, and Verstappen made that clear. His satisfaction was echoed by Helmut Marko, who stated that Red Bull's biggest weakness, tire management, now appears to be under control. If Verstappen can consistently manage his tires better from this point forward, we may be looking at a much more dangerous version of him on track. And let's not overlook the standings. He's just 22 points behind Piastri in the Drivers' Championship, and only 9 points off Norris in second. With all this in mind, what do you make of the FIA's recent technical directive? Has it really impacted the performance of the MCL39? And more importantly, do you think the rest of the grid is finally catching on to what might have been giving McLaren their edge? Comments below. And once you're done, don't forget to click on the video that's popping up on your screen right now. And don't forget to subscribe my channel.